Excellent. Okay, let's come onto our side. I'm going to be on my left side. We're going to bend both knees, stick our butt out, and we're going to soften the kidneys. Look at your knees. Really making sure my spine is not extended whatsoever. And when in doubt, make it a little rounder. You'll take the work from your spine and put it where it belongs, into your hips and into your legs. Take your right hand. If you're on your left side, bring that right hip a little forward, and we'll pick up the right knee. So here's our little clamshell. As always, less is more. You could even put your hand onto your right glute and feel, is there activity in my buttocks, or am I lifting my knee from my quad up? Since we pull the hip a little more forward, there should not be any ability to lift your knee up from your pelvis rotating. But we're just going to look, can I get the work into my butt, into my rotators, actually. Let's do this one more time. Hip stays forward. When in doubt, pull that right hip a little more forward and feel a little bit more abdominal work, and release that. We're going to lift into our abduction, our fire hydrant. How high can you go without arching your back? So still keeping the kidneys back and the sits bones back. And the height doesn't, it doesn't really matter. Of course, over time, we'll want to see, can I increase my movement capabilities in my hip joint? And that capability really comes in a good way when we're strong. If we can support our range of motion, that's always what we're looking for. We don't want to just move for the sake of it or go into a range for the sake of it. I feel like we all used to do that in the yoga classes way back when. I want to pretzel like the person next to me, right? No, we do our own pretzels. Anyways, keep that leg lifted. We're going to add our Kung Fu kick. We're going to turn the leg inward from our hip joint. You should really be feeling this in your buttocks. Bend the knee and lower down. Double check, where are my kidneys, where are my sits bones? We're going to lift the leg, we're going to turn, and then the foot is really relaxed, turning, lengthening the glute, and then pulling the thigh bone right up here, right where the hip crease is, a little more back into your hip joint, and should just engage the butt a little more. That's all this is. And I am the firm conviction that every move matters, especially if we're doing some, not so much walking, really, if you're running an errand. I mean, that's life. But if we're doing something consciously for our body for 55 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, 20 minutes, make everything count. Every exercise counts here. Every repetition counts. All right, I can feel this in my butt already. Can you feel that? Good. All right, let's do some circles here. It's really like the more we can challenge our ability to work with the, darn, this is hard, or tiring, or why is this so hard? The brain goes through all kinds of things. Reverse your circle. And pull every time your thigh bone a little more back into the hip joint when you take that leg back. Oh yeah, bend the knee, lower down, take a little moment. Maybe you have to give it a little. Yeah, I can feel that too today. And then we'll do one more thing. We're going to do some kicks, our single leg kicks. Double check. What are your shoulders doing, right? Is the neck tensing up? And this is just your brain helping us, or you. And we're just saying, no, I'm really committed to making this such a glute exercise. Every time we're pulling that thigh bone a little more back, and then keep the leg back on the next one. So we'll do 5. I think that's 5. And then bend your knee. Hold it there. Keep the kidneys back. Find your hamstrings. Find your butt. And maybe you're going to do tiny pulses to the back. Oh boy. 5. Keep breathing. Big hamstring work here. But as you stabilize your spine, you're really unwinding your lower back. And then let the leg release, bend it, lower it, and roll onto your back. Maybe a little bit X-roll style, so kind of just like peeling it down. Straighten both legs. And just feel this. This always blows my mind. It's visible. Like when I work with people in the studio, it's like so visible. And then it's so feelable too, right? Okay, let's do the other side. I'm going to just swivel around. Find support for your head. You're going to stick your butt out and then take the kidneys back. Take the ribs back. And then you might have to, you can take your left hand onto your left hip and start to lift the knee up. If that is really like, it's a very weird concept to hold the hip in space. So using your hand is not a bad thing here. You can gently press that hip forward the whole exercise. Over time and over, ability and practicing it, I want to be able to really say, I'm drawing my left hip bone into my right hip bone and find my obliques, abdominal strength here, internal hip muscles to organize the hip with the appropriate muscles, not just with a hand, right? In real life, we don't have our hand to hold onto our hip usually. So we're just, again, either way is good, but creating your own resistance, that's really the practice. Let's do 1 or 2 more. Oh, this feels so good. I hope. Very nice. And less is more again, right? Picking up the leg, how high can you lift it? And now I'm looking knee, shin, foot. Double check, is your foot higher than your knee? Is your knee higher than your foot? We're trying to make it one move. And a lot of times that last third of lift, the ribs start to pick up. Can I keep my ribs still softening back? It's going to be more work for your hip, I promise. That's where we want it. Our hips are so underworked, but we're going to work them today. All right, I think that was 5. We're going to add our turn. So here, as we're lengthening the leg, it's going to come down a little bit because the straighter leg will allow us less height. The bent knee is, we can lift it much higher, right? So we're going to lift and then we're going to turn and reach and you're going to pull that thigh bone into the hip joint, up and back at the same time, just to make really sure we have all of our glutes on board here. Backing up the diaphragm, reaching through the heel, but keeping the toes and the foot fairly relaxed. I don't want, actually you can try this out. If you make a real grab with your toes and really push with your foot a lot, you're going to feel this maybe more in your knee and less in your hip. And we want to say right now, I want this in my hip. I want this right around here in my buttocks, somewhat hamstrings. Very good. Next one, we're adding the circles, turning the leg, and then we're going to do tiny circles. Again, you can hold on to your hip here, or can I literally, and that's why we go so slow. Capital SLO, right? We're going so slow that we can keep track of things. And we're breathing, and we're visualizing, and we're keeping track of everything. Very good. And then we'll do the other direction. 5 more.
And breathe into the little burn right there in the hip. And lower down. Kicks. Gosh, my foot got really hot right now. And we're going to swing the leg forward. We're trying to keep the leg in hip height, hip joint height. A lot of times when we go far forward and the foot drops, that's not what we're looking for right now. We're just going to say, can I track my leg in the joint height, knee, second and third toe, hip joint? And especially the moment my leg goes towards the end range of coming back, or going back, keep the belly and even keep a little work in the front of your hip. We don't want to go full on end range. Again, it's more about resisting a movement as well as moving. That's always the harder option. And I would argue more strength producing and keeping us in a joint healthy place. Good. I think one more, right? And then we're going to keep that. We're going to bend, keep the leg back, bend the knee. So as you pull the leg back and bend the knee, you can really feel now hamstrings, hopefully. And then hold it here, find your butt, and then little pulses. Little pulses. As you pulse back, you got to be very diligent about the kidney back. Because the big move would be, oh, I'm going to use my spine for it. Don't, please, right? We know better. And after your 5 pulses, lower down and roll again onto your back. Straighten both legs. And check that out.